passion and a skill set is not enough to be successful in business, which is how many people start out in business.
Yeah.
They get a skill set, they have a passion, and they're like, oh, I can do this for myself. The most powerful things that I believe people can get out of human design is their authority, which is how they are designed to make decisions. The people that you are spending a lot of your time with, how are they designed to make decisions? I believe can be like game changing.
Instrumental. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Anything Goes with Anna Rose. I forgot to tell Kell off screen actually, but we're on the screen now.
On the screen.
That it is a different beast when you actually record a podcast and record a podcast. So yes, I do have the formidable Kell with me today, which I'm so excited about. I will give her, you'll have had a proper intro off the mic. But yeah, it's so much fun when you record. So don't be like put off by all the cameras staring back at you. It's for the YouTube doll.
Do we talk to the tube, do we?
We talk to the tube.
Because I just want to talk to you.
No, you talk to me.
Okay, amazing.
But if I sometimes will give her eye contact, but I'm still right here.
You're good.
But I have brought Kell on today because you mean everything to me. I'm going to like really blow the deserved smoke up your ass for a hot minute, because it really sets a scene, I think, for this conversation, because we are going to, I know where we're going, because it's important to me that people know how much you have helped me in my life in all ways, in all business. And that's really where it all begins. So I brought Kell on today because she is someone in my life that has been there for the hardest and biggest and craziest part of my business evolution the last couple of years. And I couldn't have done it without you. And we are going to talk about business coaching today. We'll talk about your journey today, because I really want people to, I think, just be inspired that you can pivot, you can move, you can change, you can show up. And we're absolutely going to dive quite deep, but like on the surface, but deep into human design. Because I am obsessed and fascinated by it, but also obsessed and fascinated that this is the direction you're going in. But what I wanted to say, and you don't know this, is what I love about this with you is this is who you are to me. And I was reflecting on this in my workout this morning, that if I had to surmise who you've been in my life, in the businesses the last couple of years, it is my advisor. It is like an advisor and my coach. And so I always send everyone to you, because I'm like, if I get coached by this woman, like you should be getting coached by this woman, but you have been an advisor. And then I was smiling in my workout this morning, because I thought that's kind of how I look at human design, that HD becomes this advisory on our life for us individually. And I thought it's so prophetic that that's where you've ultimately landed for now. It could change again in months or years, who knows? But because that is who you've been, and that's, for me especially, like this beautiful advisor. So let's go back to the origin, Kell. Let's start at the start. Where did you start your business journey?
So I started my business journey in bricks and mortar when I opened my own Alabache franchise. Gosh, that was back in 2005.
Was that your own?
That was my own.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I did not know. I was always like, you managed it.
No. So I actually opened an Alabache franchise in Yarrawonga.
Oh my God.
And I didn't live there.
Oh my God.
So I lived 90 kilometers away in a tiny small town called Nathaya, and I opened up a franchise from scratch and traveled every day, 6 days a week for about 13 months after opening.
Did you have kids, the two girls then?
No, I didn't. So I was, 28, 29? No, not even, 27. And I was like a mature age graduate of beauty therapy. So I literally came out of beauty therapy. I got offered a job in an Alabache franchise, and I was like, I'm just going to go and do this on my own, which is how many people start out in business.
Yeah.
They get a skill set, they have a passion, and they're like, oh, I can do this for myself. And then you get into business and you're like, there's a whole lot of other stuff that you need to know to run a successful business that you don't get taught.
You have advice on that, don't you? We've talked about this before, and I'm like, that's just jerked my memory, and this is so powerful to interview now. What do you, because you've always said something to me about that, like people shouldn't or should, what's that thing you say?
Well, I think that, you know, when if I come from it from a beauty therapist, right, you can work for other people and you can be like, I'm on the floor, I'm good at what I do, but I'm not getting to charge my worth because obviously the business is charging and you're getting paid a wage. But passion and a skill set is not enough to be successful in business.
That's it. That's what you said to me before. Passion and skill set is not enough. Amen.
No, because the skill set that I had was I was an exceptionally good beauty therapist, and I would still say that I am, even though I don't practice anymore. But to run a business is well, you know, hello, speaking to the queen, and it's hard, and there's lots of other skill sets within running a business that you don't get taught when you're going to get a qualification as a beauty therapist or a hairdresser. And so I feel like that is why the statistics are so high that people fail in business very quickly, is because they don't know how to run a business. What all of those things are, as well as the energetics of holding what it takes to run a business.
It's funny, I'm like sitting here hardcore relating, but I always take it back. I say to Ryan all the time, I'm like, I swear entrepreneurship is just 80% making decisions.
100%.
But it's funny because so many people suck at making decisions.
And that is, like, we'll jump ahead very quickly and we'll come back. That is one of the most powerful things that I believe people can get out of human design is their authority, which is how they are designed to make decisions. And I just feel like that, just from a high level foundational perspective of human design, and obviously energy type and strategy, and you could do all of the things, but to understand how you are here to make decisions and then understand also who you are in a relationship with, who you are working with, you know, the people that you are spending a lot of your time with, how are they designed to make decisions, I believe can be like game changing,
instrumental. I know I brought Katie to work with you, like, so Kell, Katie and I had a business strategy session. Any big decision, guys, just so you know, that I'm making my businesses or any structural changes, Kell is on it. Like Kell is the orchestrator. I'll sit with her, I strategize with her. So yeah, when I was launching my inner circle, I brought Katie over, and you literally read Katie as well, which I was like, please do it, Kell, because I wanted to learn because I'm working with her now and I'm not managing her. She's her own boss as well, but just it was brilliant understanding everything you just said. It was actually really, really powerful and strategic for me ultimately on how I know best to serve her and how I know best how to boss, like, and all the things. So I love that. So you were an Ella Bache owner.
I was. And, you know, I guess we have to always trust in timing. But one of my stories that I carried for a long time is that I held on to that business for 5 years too long. However, now I know that obviously it was the way it was because that was perfect.
Yeah.
But as I said, started that business, had no children, ended up relocating to the town Yarrawonga, had my 2 beautiful girls. And I guess the big thing that I understand now is that the way that I did business didn't change, but my life and my priorities in life changed significantly. Yeah. And so I fell out of love with the business, more so from a bricks and mortar point of view of that, you know, the pressures and the stresses that come from having such a business like a franchise. And so ultimately 10.5 years I had that business, and I made the decision to close the doors.
Yeah, didn't sell it.
And it was really interesting. I tried to sell it, but what I now know is I would have never sold it based on the energy that I had around it.
So energy is everything.
Because I just was that misaligned with it, that there, someone coming into that business to look at it, they would have felt the energy.
Yeah, you can't sell what you don't love.
Correct.
You can't, and that's a bomb. Like you I just truly believe that. Like,
absolutely.
And I think I sell so well because I do genuinely love what I do, and you're the same.
Yes.
So then what I love, because I know all this stories. But
so
then what,
literally closed the doors in January of 2016, and I was taking a 6-month sabbatical. I was literally going to, step away, spend time with the girls, just have a break.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks later, Shez and I started She Can.
Yeah, wow.
And that was not even on the radar.
I remember this period as well. Like I remember watching you two and your like metaphoric rise in that and being so inspired.
Yeah. And it was interesting because...
Wait, what is it? Right. So for people that don't know, because it's back. It is also back.
It is also back.
It's back.
So, I mean, She Can was described as a, first of its kind personal development company for women.
Yes. For women.
For women. Particularly when we first started out in regional communities, because we both lived in regional Victoria, and that was our big drive, was to bring personal development and live events to women in regional communities so they didn't have to travel to major cities to get that access. And so that's where we started. And, I guess Shez and I laugh. Part of starting She Can was so that we could hang out once a week and have dinner and a glass of Prosecco. I was just
about to say, I actually didn't set that up. So Shez, for Kell, is you guys are like best friends. Best friends
Absolutely.
in the whole world, like sisters.
Yes.
I adore Shez. Love having a wine with Shez. So yeah, you started She Can, a business with your best friend.
I did. And interestingly, because a lot of people think that Shez and I have been lifelong friends, and we met through Isogenics.
Yeah. And that's how I met Kell.
Absolutely. Well. Yeah. And then you spent a lot of time with Shez as well. You did photo shoots together and all the things.
Yeah. I started with with Shez's and yours, PT. Like my very first PT, Lockie Horner, shout out to Lockie, was because of you and Shez. Like I was watching your transformation.
Yes, that's a whole other story, because we reached out to Lockie, and that's how he started his online business. So it's crazy. So yes, we run live events and retreats for women all around personal development, self-discovery, and the big part of She Can is community.
Yeah.
Is bringing women together to find new networks of like-minded, supportive, positive people.
Yeah.
Because I guess what we knew from living in regional communities is that wasn't always the case, and we wanted to change that narrative. Yeah, and so...
And then that, obviously COVID hit and dissipated. I'm sort of like not speeding through it, but I know the story. So that had COVID hit, it dissipated, but I have watched it come back again. Like So what was that decision for you and Shez? Because I don't know this. Like I'm genuinely interested.
2021 is when we made the decision, February, to stop She Can, which it had just been absolute turmoil for almost 12 months, of course.
Yeah. Well, you guys were Victorians.
Correct.
Based.
Whez was also went over the border.
Lockdown. Yeah. So couldn't run events, couldn't be together.
Event would be on, then at the drop of a hat, it was, postponed, and then we'd be rescheduling, and then we weren't selling any new events because we already had sold out events that we had to run. And it was just a really challenging time. I still say, for me personally, COVID would be one of the most challenging times of my entire life. Definitely the Great Awakening. And so we made the decision to stop because we still loved it.
Yeah. I remember my ex used to always say, Morgs, who we still know and love.
Yeah.
He used to always say to me, mate, you got to leave the party before the music and dancing stops. And it's always stuck with me.
Yes.
So that
is a fabulous way to put it.
Yeah.
Because I also had my experience with Alabache.
Yeah.
And I said to Shez, I don't want to do this until I don't like it and resent it, because I don't ever want to look back on what I absolutely love and know part of me is here to do, and then go, oh, we should have quit earlier, and so we made that decision. And then Shez and I just recently had sort of been, I mean, our stories when we're together are always about the, incredible times we've had with She Can. And we just started, it just sort of evolved the conversation. And we were just like, are we ready?
Yeah.
And we were like, we know our community and we know many women out there are needing it and wanting it. And I think being able to run the retreat in Bali last year, which was technically going to be the final.
I remember.
Put a bow on it.
I remember.
And they had such an incredible time in Bali. They said, would you do this every year? And we were like, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. If you want to,
yeah.
And so we came back and we planned the next Bali. And then just through that, we were like, I think this is what we want to do. So yeah, we just decided to relaunch kind of She Can 2.0.
Which I love.
And yeah, we have our first new event in September.
And what is because that isn't, I've been like watching all your stories.
Yeah.
That's business, isn't it?
No, it's very much still self-discovery, personal development. I mean, it's all the same, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Like even the business women that I work with, there's still such a huge element of personal development and just what it is that you need to go to that next level. And a lot of just community, like-minded people, connection.
Yeah, I heard James Smith, who I love. I know you follow.
Gosh,
I know we're both fans. It's just interesting. It was funny. I was watching him like sell essentially something this morning. Well, he was just basically talking about his redirections. This is a real coachable moment, actually, if you're listening. Because how many years have I said community is currency? And that's what I've been building.
Your whole life.
Yeah, like your community is your currency.
Yes.
And then it was interesting because just so everyone also knows, we've actually been in a knowledge age. So we have been, so it was like industrial, revolutionary, and then we've actually been in the knowledge age. And James Smith on this video this morning actually said, oh, the knowledge era is coming to an end. And now it's actually community. And I was like, oh, that mic drop. And I thought, right, we'll start now. Like if you haven't and you're interested in business or you're thinking like, where do I go or what do I do? Yeah, I know you especially as well will say this, but it's like build your community. Like it could not be more important in 2024 and beyond, probably for the next decade, I would say. And I think especially with the rise of AI, like that's where it's at. But sorry, I also want to say, because we've talked Ella Bache, which then went into She Can, which I vividly remember and love, and you've circled back to that. So definitely go follow Kell and get involved. But you're also a coach.
Yes.
You're my coach.
Yes.
You're also absolutely a coach, and you run a mastermind. Quickly talk about that, because then I think that's a beautiful segue into this.
Yes.
Offering
so
PhD.
I guess through She Can, there is a huge element of coaching anyway. And then making the decision to stop that back in 2021, I stepped into more of my one-to-one coaching. But a huge value of mine is community. And so I created Bold Aligned Business, which is my monthly membership for business women. BAB, yes. And so for me, it is all aspects.
Yeah.
It's all aspects of community support, but obviously knowledge and skills. But for me, the big thing is action, is like strategy. What do you need to do to move yourself forward? And so that was literally created on an idea. So when I launched Bold Aligned Business back in May of last year, May 2023, I literally was like, I've got this idea. I don't know what it looks like, but
I remember this actually.
Here's the founding members. Like, if you want to come in and help me create this. And that was literally
with them.
Yeah. And that's literally how I launched. And so what I can tell you is there is some shift coming to Bold Aligned Business. I'm not 100% clear on what that looks like yet, but I just know that I never wanted or want Bold Aligned Business to be fluffy.
Yeah, of course. But it won't ever be.
No. And so I'm like, it's really about how do I ensure that my members and the women that are choosing to join us are getting the results.
Yeah, okay.
And so I'm just feeling like there may be a little shift up coming with that.
Watch this space. Friends. What I love about you, I was going to say Kell, but here you are. What I love about you is whenever I need, just to speak to your power of like, you have strategy and action, literally, like I said before, any decision or shift or structural change I ever make in any of my companies always involves you. So I'll do like a half a day booking session with you, or a full day booking session with you, or a 4-hour strategy session with you, because we sit and we take action. And that's, I think, what I've always loved about you from day one, working like one-on-one with you, is you are strategy and action. And so even when I took Katie over that day and we did the whole structural setup for my inner circle, we were like in the website making changes on the fly, because and I still credit, I was actually getting ready this morning thinking about it. My 2024 has been the best financially, the best like structurally, the best organized, and it's from you sitting with me back in October last year.
Wow.
And again, this was you reached out to me and you were like, mate, let's do a strategy session. I want to make sure you're set for 2024. And I'm like, this is fucking October. Give me a minute. No, I genuinely was like, yeah, let's do it. And we sat for whatever it was, half a day, like 4, 5, 6 hours. And you helped me, you pulled out of me like the goals I wanted, where I wanted to end up. Was there anything personally that was going to go on for me? And you helped me set up like collection drops. The hub, like you literally went through every single one of my companies and set parameters and structures and timelines and goals for me. And I was thinking about it this morning and I'm like, I literally am still working to that and smashing it. And that was you.
Well, thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
But I think one of the biggest things too is you're so clear on your values. And so I find that I can be that person to be like, but is that going to give you the freedom that you want? And I feel like a lot of women that enter into the business world, as we were saying before, with a passion and a skill set, they don't think about their values and their vision and their priorities and how they can change considerably. But you're so rock solid on them that I feel like it's very easy for me. It's like, okay, let's try this. This would be good.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
then you're like, okay.
But Kell as well has been instrumental in my hires, because every hire I've done has almost been like screened by you, but like coached in a sense. And this is a really smart strategic decision and choice by me, because you set the boundary almost with my hires on like, Anna loves freedom. Your job is to keep her free. And I work my ass off.
Absolutely.
But everything I do is to lead into more freedom. So you are a brilliant, like, I feel like I'm selling you as a one-on-one coach, and it's actually, this is, I was going to be like, it's not where you're probably going, but it is.
It is. Yes.
It actually is.
And I mean, I already work with phenomenal, like one-on-one clients, and I love the community aspect of Borderline Business, but I'm really driven to work with high-performing, go-getting women in business that are perhaps just spinning their wheels, maybe not clear on what's next. They want to scale, but they're not sure. And I, for me, and it is part of what's in my chart as a human design.
I was going to say, is this part of your chart?
Well, innovation and ordering is part of what is my strengths. And so that's the thing. It's like, if someone can tell me this is what I want to do, I kind of reverse engineer. I'm like, okay, we can do this. But it's always up to the client. Like, it's always up to you, because you have to feel aligned that those decisions you're making align with your values and your vision and your priorities. And so it's important that they know what they are before we start.
I think it's such a coachable moment though for the podcast as well, for coaches who are listening or women wanting to get into coaching. I think something that I've loved working with you for like 3 years now is, or two or three, whatever, it'll be forever, is making sure you know your client's values. Because it has been so expansive for me, and such a, like, I trust the process with you so deeply, because you are so conscious of my values. But I think as well, then the coachable moment as a woman in general, or as a human being, there are actually a lot more men that are listening now as well, is to know your damn values.
Absolutely. Yes.
Know your values.
Yes. Because I can give any strategy in the world, But if it's not in alignment with what you want, then one, you're either not going to take action, or two, you're going to take action and end up not where you want to go.
Mic drop. But I'm as you're saying that as well, because I don't know. So this is where my HD questions are really going to start to come in. Are values quite intrinsically linked to your HD profile, or are they like separate in a sense?
Interesting. Probably, I would say, and I'm still saying that I'm the beginner in the human design world because it is so extensive. And I do believe that you could probably study it for the rest of your life and still not know it all. But I would say if you actually got into your chart and really looked, I would say you would find connection of like, oh, interesting. That is why that is such a strong value of mine. And so, yes, I do believe, and there are different channels that we have that, you know, are more community led, more collective led, more individualized. So I think absolutely. And that's probably something I'm going to go away and really look at.
It's only because intuitively, as we were talking, I thought, oh, I wonder, and we're going to get into it and I'll set it up. But I thought, I wonder if you are just magnetically or like intuitively living your human design. I know you said off the mic, I very much am, and I intuitively know that. I thought, I wonder if then intuitively, like a process of just knowing what you value and like the values you live by is connected in that way. But
that's going to be a really interesting thing to research and uncover. I think going on what we were saying before we started about how you really do live your design, and I believe if you had a very in-depth reading of your entire chart and your channels, and I did have a look before I came, and I was just like,
she's peeked behind the curtains.
And that could be a whole other episode of just doing a full-blown reading on your chart, because I'm like, oh, she's already doing that, and there is that element. So I'm sure, I feel like a big part of it though is of the amount of work that you've done on you, because conditioning is a thing that you can really look at in your design.
What is conditioning?
It is.
I want to set this up, but now I'm like, oh, what's conditioning?
So conditioning is, I guess, you know, the external factors that have conditioned us over life. So yeah, right. So, you know, all of the work that you have done, all of the healing that you've done, all of the awareness that you've got, all of that is the conditioning. And so we just have, just for simple sake, is the conditioning of the hustle culture. And if you want it, you've got to go out and get it. Well, that's not the right process for a lot of the energy types in human design. So there's elements like that. So we're conditioned to be workhorses, whereas as a projector that you are not meant to be a workhorse.
No. And so I'll go there now, because firstly, if I had $1 for every woman that slides in my DMs and goes, I'm just dying to know your human design. And I say, and I'll set, like, for those that have never heard this and they're like, what the hell is this HD? We'll start there. And I go, I'm a projector. And they go, bullshit.
Do they think you're a generator?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's just so funny, because when I always say, but if you really look at it, and you actually really understood. I think it's more probably besties in inner circle behind the scene that know how much I actually do take space and never miss the point and take breaks and all of the things. I'm like, no, I am a projector to my core. But so when, and again, I want to set this up. So you've worn all these hats, which are actually so intrinsically linked and super beautifully symbiotic. But now you are, you know, you were talking to me and you're like, you were fascinated by human design.
Absolutely.
And that's where it began for you. You
Yes.
pulled at this thread, and I was like, yes, Kell, do it, like champion that, because I know how much value it's going to add into my life with you now deeply understanding all of this, and like on that journey.
Yes.
And so that's something you're now doing. And I was like, I want you on the podcast to talk about this, because I think human design is such a brilliant, beautiful blueprint for us to understand in our own lives to then apply it to then live that blueprint. So
Absolutely.
I love that, Cal, like this is an offering you now absolutely do offer. So
yes,
now for anyone that ever asks me, because everyone always does, who would you go to? I'm like, chill, 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 sending them your way.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. But let's start right at the start. So what is human design? What is HD?
So I think what you just said, you said most beautifully. And I also think human design is a permission slip to really experiment with, if you choose to have a human design reading, to look at your energy type, your strategy, your authority, like however deep you want to go down into your body graph. It is a permission slip for you to experiment with what your design tells you, how you're here to exchange energy, how best you make decisions when you know you're not doing something that you should be doing. All of these elements, I just see it as a permission slip.
Which is so profound for me, and I can absolutely say that is so true, because being a projector and understanding, so if you look all this up, so there's 4, yeah? Is it? 5. What are they?
So we've got manifestor,
yeah,
projector, generator, manifesting generator, and our reflector.
Oh, the reflective. The rare
the 1% of the population.
I know Lukey, Katie's husband's a reflector.
Is he really? Oh my gosh, I'm just going to ask him if I can do his chart reading.
Yeah, do it.
He's 1% of the population.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like he's just so that energy. I'm a projector. Ryan is what's Katie? They're the same.
Manifesting generator.
Mani-gen.
Yes.
Yeah, so Katie and Ryan, so my bestie and my beloved, are manifesting generators. But when I learned I was a projector, this was like several years ago when I had my very first reading by beautiful Brit Eastman. She definitely doesn't do it anymore. And sort of just did it and put it on the wayside. But ever since then, so projectors, we like rest. We have to wait for the invitation.
Yeah.
But the experiment I really have leaned into more than ever as I am expanding companies and scaling is this rest piece.
Yes.
And it feels sticky. And there are days where I can be not so overwhelmed, but have a lot on my plate. I think overwhelm is a form of sabotage.
Yes.
So I never use that language, but I can have a lot on my plate, but in the spirit for me as a projector of never missing the point and understanding that actually resting and taking that space is most important to my personal human design, I will prioritize that instead of pushing through. And that's what I fundamentally believe is giving me results at the moment.
Yes.
Is playing within, and this is why I wanted you on.
Yes.
Because I'm really leaning into like astrology and human design at the moment more than ever. And I think it's been this real catalyst for expansion in my own life and experimenting when I know sort of the basis of it, going, okay, I know I should be resting, or I get to rest. I get to rest. So let's try it and let's see. And
I think part of that is the signature theme of a projector is success.
So what does that mean? What's the signature theme mean?
Well, when you are in, for me, my explanation very simply is it's when you're in flow with life. It's when you are doing what you are doing because you feel that sense of success. For a projector, though, it's about defining what is success to you. Because freedom, right? Freedom. But also you're highly motivated. And so you are also multi-passionate, like you're doing, you're running multiple things. The big thing though is for you, you're so good on your energetic work. And this is really important to a projector. You have an absolute nighttime process and routine to unwind and so that's really important for a projector because projectors are here with a really deep and focused aura. So you're I guess you're here to see, not to work. And so your aura goes into another. So you have the ability to really deeply see in other people, their talents. And so when we say wait for the invitation. You mentioned it before. That is your strategy as a projector.
Yeah.
That is not about sitting back and waiting and being like, well, I've not been invited by anyone to anything yet. You can go and do and be whatever you choose, which you are. Waiting for the invitation comes more from the interaction with others, because projectors are like a big spotlight.
Yes, we are.
And sometimes
Activate.
people are not ready to be in your spotlight. They're like, no, thank you. Not ready.
But see how profound. So just to give people context, because we had said this off, I said, you know, I think it's powerful in this episode when we talk about HD. You've got full permission to read me. So here's my date of birth, my time of birth. So Kell's done a reading on my chart as well, which I thought was really powerful, because if you're listening to the podcast, you follow me and you know who I am.
Yes.
And so hearing all of this now, when people go, how are you a projector? I feel like people will be nodding like, oh no, that's her. Like, yes, she spotlights me on Instagram. Like, I feel like she's speaking to me sometimes. And someone at the heels class just said, they were going around doing their shares for the community event, and they were like, I followed Anna for several years, like, but on and off. Like, I'll get triggered and then I go, and then I come back and then I go again. And she's like, but for the last 3 years, I've been here. Like, I'm healed.
Yeah.
And that to me is that.
And there's also, and we won't go into it today because I would literally need to have my notes in front of me, but there's channels in which even amplifies that you have in your chart, which is what you're here, to do. But as a projector, as I said, like, the projector is often called the light, because you are like a spotlight always. And so there's also very much this queen type energy. So
for all projectors?
Because like, when we talk about waiting for the invitation for you is in exchange with other people. So if someone is coming to invite you on to something or do something or invite you somewhere, that invitation needs to be given to you in a way where they are highlighting the reason they want you there, because of your wisdom and your knowledge and your leadership, not because, someone pulled out and we need a replacement, because you'd be like, that is not an equal exchange of of my worthiness.
Yeah.
So also, as we said, some people are not ready to be in your spotlight. So you are like the queen that gets to sit in her throne with her light on, with all of the wisdom, with all of the knowledge. And when people are ready to walk into the light, you've got to use your authority to determine, am I then wanting to utilize my energy in this way in exchange with that person?
That is so powerful.
And
that's
something... And I find it interesting because you talk about queen and king a lot.
Like, that's wild. But it's so energetically true for me.
Correct.
So energetically true. And the what's a good word, friends? The tension I feel from others sometimes, and because they actively tell me, they'll come days, weeks, months later and go, when you first started to really use even that term queen and king, it triggered me. I don't like that word. I say activated. It activated me. And then I was ready. And then I started to move in that way, or act in that way, or speak in that way, and call my man the king, and raised him into kingship. So I find this prophetic, because I'm like, isn't that interesting that even I was meant to?
And I think and you activate people so much because of your aura, because it's so deep and focused. And so, like, for people listening, you will often know a projector by the eye contact and by feeling like you are the only person on the planet that they are currently speaking to.
Wow.
And that is because their aura is you get a taste of someone through being able to have that aura. It almost penetrates them, and you're like, you get to see them.
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying before, it's really important for projectors to have that nighttime, afternoon wind down routine, because they need to be able to detox the energies that they pick up throughout the day, because that is what your aura is designed to do.
Wow.
So you're picking up people's energy. So you need to be very discerning too, is like, is that my energy or is that theirs?
But I think as well, this is really interesting because I am big on, you know, I started a business around it, but my inner circle, I'm enormous on my inner circle and protecting that above all else. And it was beautiful when I started to date Ryan, who reflected to me that, you know, he just couldn't get over the sisterhood and the love and the support and the energy that emanates from the bestie group, essentially, and anyone that is really close in my life. But I, you know, again, intuitively or innately built that very, very intentionally.
Absolutely.
But then it's like, and I never got why. I just am always like, I'd rather, and everyone would say this, right? Oh, quality over quantity. But I'll, you know, for me, I'm like, no, I need it as much as I need to breathe. So I, you know, I didn't know this. I'm like learning as you go. So that's fascinating.
And it's interesting because you just said the word intuitive, because you're a splenic projector, which is all intuition.
So is that so is this authority?
Yeah, this is the authority, right? And so you said two things then. You said intuitive, and you said I can't explain that. That's what splenic is.
And can
it's
other
deep inner
prototypes
wisdom.
or like any design have, are they the two authorities for every energy type?
No, so there's multiple authorities.
Okay.
And so yours, when you're splenic, it is, I say it's like the spidey senses. It's like I just feel it in my body. I can't explain it, but this is where we're going. And you said it in like one sentence.
Yeah.
Like intuitively, and I can't explain it. That is your splenic authority.
Yeah.
And so that is, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, trust your gut. Well, the gut is sacral.
And that's not me.
No, and that's me. So I'm a
Yeah.
sacral authority. So for you, it's just like for a splenic authority, it's important that they understand where they feel the messages in their body.
Is that me?
That's you.
Yeah.
So something that is splenic, it may not necessarily be it. They need to understand, it could be down their spine. It's like, oh, I've just had that. That's like, you know, it's like a little detective's gone off. And so I need to lean in and listen to what is that telling me? And so, you know, it's a bit like a metal detector. It's always scanning. That's what your spleen's doing for you all the time. It's either moving you towards something that is right for you or not.
And you, so this is perfect to give the opposite or the other example.
Yep.
You are sacral.
I'm a sacral generator, but my authority is sacral. Yeah. So for me, I have the answer in the moment. It's yes or no.
Yeah.
And so my body.
So you can make decisions quickly.
Yeah. In the moment. Yeah. And so for me, my body might be like, ugh. And I'd be like, okay, that's a no.
Yeah.
Or it might be like, ooh. And so that's like a yes. And so I do feel it in my gut. Like I'll just know. I'm like, no.
Yeah. And it's so funny because Kell, like I always say, absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
And I get it off Kell because you will say it because you always are like, yes, no. I want to give one more example because I remember being when Katie and I were at yours, and Katie, so this is something that I learned.
Yes.
Having Katie on staff, essentially, whatever her authority was, you might not remember, but hers was actually she needs to go away.
So that's emotional. So she's an emotional, authority. So an emotional authority means they've got their solar plexus is defined. So it's colored in on the chart if you're looking at it. But her thing to remember is there is no clarity in the now.
Yes. If you're emotional.
If you're an emotional authority, you will ride the emotional wave. And so for an emotional authority, conditioning is like, oh my God, you can't make a decision. Oh, you're so up and down. Yesterday you were yes, now you're no. Like that's what they are meant to do.
Yeah.
They are meant to take that decision and allow it to ride their emotional wave to land in emotional clarity.
And then it's so potent and powerful when they do though. And that was really important for me to hear that about Katie because she doesn't have to necessarily make decisions.
No.
I am. But there are things that I'll seek advice on. But I don't now do that if there's no time for her
Correct.
to. So this is I cannot tell people how potent and powerful human design is on your own life. But if you are in teams or are in partnership, because again, Ryan is a manifesting generator.
Yes.
So I'm obsessed now about learning. It's like psychic.
Yes.
Like this is how I describe, because I was actually describing it to Ryan in the beginning. I was like, I'm a projector, you're a manifest, and and he'd never heard about this.
Yes.
And he goes, but what is it, baby? And I said, it's like psychic.
Mm.
Like you can't, and then again, here I go. Like I'm like, you can't explain it, but when someone explains your human design, it's like they are doing your astrology almost. Like it's like,
well, it is a combination.
Yes.
That's right. And so, and I find, and this is where I said at the beginning, for me, authority is enormous because particularly in business, we are making decisions all the time. You even said it's 80% decision making, right? And so to understand for emotional authority, right? Okay, I need to have that time. So if they were asked to give an answer to something, the best thing that they could say is, when is the latest you need to know by?
So powerful.
Because they provide themselves the space. And if someone said, well, I'm going to need tomorrow, they're going to be like, well, can I make it Monday?
Yeah.
Like to be like that clarity around, I'm not going to have that answer tomorrow. And so if we don't listen to our authority, which is the way we make decisions, and then we end up in our not self theme. So for me, for a generator, it's frustration.
So that's when, is that like almost like the shadow?
Yeah, it's like if I'm frustrated, I'm like, okay, what am I doing that I should
not in alignment?
Correct. Ooh. And so that might have been, I've gone against my sacral. I've said yes and I should have said no.
So powerful.
You've got a ping from your spidey sense and you're like, oh no, it's fine. And then you're like, you're in your not self. You're
What's
bitter.
my not self?
Bitterness.
Oh.
And so bitterness may show up for a projector too if they are hustling and doing too much, trying to initiate, going out and getting it rather than waiting for the invitation and not getting the invitations through, or not being asked and not being invited in a way that is really honoring their wisdom and knowledge and leadership.
Yeah.
That can make you bitter. You can be like,
yeah. It's so wild to me because I think it's a permission slip. Human design is a permission slip because, I think everyone's like, oh, we are all intuitive. Yes. Right. Everyone is intuitive. Everyone was born with a gift. We were pure, innocent babies that were still completely connected to source. I believe all this. But I do also believe that, when you were born, there was that, like, this is human design. And I think, I know that I can't explain it. And I've said this my whole life. Like there's things that I just know.
Yes.
And I, as I have trusted that more and more and more, and I did learn like, okay, that's my authority. This was even just with you the other day at your house when you said, well, Anna, you were explaining it all and you said it. Ryan the other day was like, you're a freak. Your level of intuition now is freak. Like to the point where it's like, it is almost psychic. Like something happened the other day, but I didn't know, but I knew. Like I kept saying to Ryan, like, I just think this is, I was like anticipating. And he was like, but why do you say that? I'm like, I can't explain it. I said, I just know
that and this so is that is
happen. And correct. He goes, well, maybe actually this is what happened and this was said and da. And I was like, are you kidding? Show me. Like, because I was like, sometimes you almost think you're a freak. Like, I was like, am I being crazy? Right? Is this whatever? And then when he showed me, it was like, oh, I knew this. Like, I could feel this.
And that's the thing with the splenic authority is if you can explain it, it's not likely to be your spleen.
Wow.
It's not likely to be a spidey sense. So every time you're like, I just feel it and I can't explain it, that's bang on.
Yeah.
And so this is where we go back to saying it's a permission slip. If you learn that about yourself and you start to trust that more, it's like, for me, it's like turning up the volume of that and you're more responsive. You're like, oh, was that a ping? Okay, I'm gonna be aware of that. I'm gonna make a decision based on that. It's like people, for me, being in sacral. It's like the more you listen to it, the more you understand. Is it sound? Is it a lean in movement or a pushback? Does it feel expansive or, restrictive? The more you listen to that,
It is, because
the more it happens and more it speaks to you.
yeah, because Cal, when you were explaining this to Katie and I, you were like doing Katie's reading essentially because she was fascinated, and you were explaining about she's an emotional authority. And I turned to you and I said, holy shit. So this whole thing of just trust your gut is bullshit.
And
I was like, it's bullshit. It's trust your gut for sacral authority, but actually I need to trust my intuition, not my gut.
Correct. And,
right?
like that whole statement of, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. And that comes across
That's
like
you.
it's immediate. It's for me,
Not for
but
me.
not for you. Definitely not for Katie.
Yeah.
It might land in that.
Yeah.
But it's fed to us like you should know in the moment.
Yeah.
And this is where I was talking about conditioning. These are the things that can be put on us. Like for you, if you had been around people your entire life saying, no, you have to be able to explain it. Like it's not real. If you can't explain it, it's not real. Imagine if that would be big conditioning.
Yeah.
Whereas you're like, I can't explain it, but I know it's right.
Yeah.
That's
And I will say as well, like obviously if you followed me for a minute, a month, a year, whatever, when I think for me the most like validation I had, an affirmation almost around human design when I did start to look into it more, and I have been more recently, both astrology and human design, is COVID made sense to me, and who I was during COVID was like I cried, like I felt almost liberated by that, like I could never explain it. And I still, like I always, people go, but how did you do it, or how did you know, little things as well, like even the thing, like people will go, stuff that I would share on the day that I would share it, I just knew to share that on that day, like I knew to pull that thread, or I knew, and I just trusted it over and over and over again. And I couldn't explain it in the moment, and then I was like, oh, and even then it's like, oh, but then also I am the projector, I'm a seer, and I'm a spotlight. So all these things for me.
And that's why there would have been, you're either all in with Anna or you're all out during the interruption, because you like the interruption. We learnt that in Bali, the interruption. Because you are that spotlight. So either people were ready or they weren't.
I actually say, and this will be a really beautiful reflection, like I'm interested to hear your response on this, but I have this, this like gaggle of psychopaths, stalkers, that it's very real and it's very psychotic, but they still pursue me relentlessly and daily, and they like stalk my life and harass me and all these things. And I could never figure it out. Like people still are bamboozled by it. Apparently, like I got told the other day, they know when I'm getting married. Mate, I'm not engaged. So
well, shit, I don't. So that's unfair.
Like, it's wild, the speculation of bullshit that they put on my life. And people, when they come in and they see it or they find it or whatever, are shocked and appalled and disgusted. And I never got it until recently. Again, I started to look into, I'm more interested in my human design. And I said to Ryan months ago now, I said, I have a feeling it came from, I absolutely know it came from the convent times. That's how they found me and heard about me. But because I was sharing in my space, so I was the spotlight as the projector, but I went viral. That's right. Over and over and over again. And so I was being put unbeknownst to me and out of my control. My spotlight was getting put everywhere else around Australia when people didn't want to face it.
Correct.
And I feel like that's what's made this level of hate and psychopathness. Because I think, am I right? Like I would absolutely to my HD in that sense, that I am that spotlight, and it was so bright on them, like the mirror of like, I don't want this, like they couldn't get away from me, literally. Yes. And now it's an addicted obsession.
Yes.
So
absolutely, that's an incredible reflection, but that is exactly that, because that wasn't your choice.
Yeah,
to go viral. Like you weren't like, I'm going to put this out so I go viral.
No.
And that is because of who you are. And you're also, your third line because you're a 3-5.
Okay.
So you're a 3-5 splenic projector.
Okay.
And so the third line is also someone that will absolutely stand in the heat for the convictions of what they believe.
You're kidding.
No. But also the third line is also, which I absolutely love because I can just see this so much of you, is that you live life by trial and error.
Yes, I do.
It's all about discovery for you, right? There is no failure. It's only a discovery. And so the third line just goes out there and lives by experiment and experience. And it's just you're bumping into life, life's bumping into you. Oh, that was interesting, you know? And you might be like, oh, I'm going to go and try this. Like, let's go save your skydiving, right?
Yeah.
If you were like, I'm going to tell some people I'm going to do, and they'll be like, oh, I have done it. I didn't like it. It's terrifying. Or my best friend died, whatever, all the stories. And you'd be like, probably going to give it a go anyway.
Yeah.
That's the third line, right? But because of this ability to go out and really bump into life and just see life as trial and error, you do a lot of humor. Like if shit doesn't work out the way it was meant to, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, probably won't do that again, or I might try it a different way.
Yeah.
So you use that humor. But because of this in real life experience, you will stand in the fire and you can be really adaptable and withstand pressure and heat because you find something that you know to be true and you will stand in the conviction of protecting that.
Which is a third line.
Which is your third line.
So if you're a third line, this is probably landing for you right now.
And so I'm just like, you know, when you start to unpack all of the different parts of your life,
I'm laughing because I'm like, my saying is I'm just going to fuck around and find out. It's like the ethos that I live by.
And that's the third line.
And I say that to people because they're like, don't do that. I'm like, well, I'm going to fuck around and find out. Like Katie laughs if we're at places or business is happening. She's like, don't tell her that. You're wasting your breath. Like she's going to fuck around and find out. But that's my third line.
But it's also, I go back to when you started putting yourself in rooms to learn about, you know, Bitcoin and all of the thing and the investing and you just knew there was something in it, but you were like, I'm just going to put myself in the rooms. And you're also like, I'm going to be the person that asks the question.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if it's a dumb question, I'm here to learn. And it's that element as well, right? It's just like, I'm going to put myself in situations so I can learn firsthand.
Yeah.
And just discover, experience, experiment.
Which is so powerful. But on that as well, it's funny that you brought that up because when you were talking about, I think the third line, the authority.
Yes.
So splenic authority. I was sitting here thinking, but I'm like, not my interview, but I was like, this is fascinating because I'm like, this is how I knew to start the Awakened Woman.
Yes, absolutely.
I can't explain it. And I couldn't explain it. And the risk it took. And I staked my reputation on it. I still have. Like, I staked my reputation on it, which is, that's all you've got. Take away your money. It's your character and your reputation, right? But I just knew. And people still today, like, how did you know? I'm like, I can't explain it. I just can't explain. I don't have to.
And I think part of that too is you're so deeply connected to who you are and how you operate. And you've done so much work on yourself and just everything, like everything that Self-Love School stands for, you live and breathe that. And people that know you from the inner circle just know that. It's that I think amplifies how you live so much in alignment with your human design, and probably a lot of it unknowingly until you start to investigate it. But also, I would imagine your astrology.
Yeah.
Like
I'm actually
Luke,
getting Luke.
I was going to say,
I'm getting Luke on. Luke is on next as well.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go you and then Luke, so an astrologer. And it was, profound when I first met with him.
Absolutely.
And it was all about, and it was very similar, right? It was like, he was like, you're literally just, he didn't know me, but I rocked up and he was reading my chart. And I was like, I do that. And yes. And that's my company. And he's like, well, mate, you're on it.
Yes. Like, and I think that there is, like, there's also that you are like what we would say, you've deconditioned because of all of the work that you've done. So, I mean, I feel like, and as I said, I'm still in the very beginning stages of me really fully grasping everything about human design. But I would imagine you can have the best chart in the world. And let's be honest, there's no bad charts.
Yeah.
But if you are really heavily conditioned, you're not doing the inner work, you don't have the awareness, you're not, then you're only going to live to that limit.
Yeah. I think the most, like, it's funny because I'm like, I can't explain. It's so funny now you've said it all, but I'm like, the thing that I've taken away the most from this is actually the, I don't know what it was called, but like, I know you'll tell me, it's like the shadow, right? So when I'm in
Not bitterness, you're not self. Yeah.
That's profound.
Absolutely.
Profound. Because then it's funny too, because if I would call, would you say resentment and bitterness is of the same range? Because I always, like, for me, if there's any feeling that I ever feel, it's like I'd be bitter towards having to do something, and then that's the telltale sign. And I think if people, even if when I hope they get a HD reading, I just think I think everyone needs to do a parasite cleanse and pull out their parasites and a HD reading. I really do, because I think if you can understand. So I've got a final question for you. But what I wanted to say is, we've talked about me, and we've done that so people can understand the depth of human design. But I believe if people understood their own blueprint and experimented within it, it could unlock new levels for them profoundly.
100%.
Yeah.
Because even when you look at the individual centers of the human design, they all, they all have their own energy.
Yeah.
So like you've got a defined root, which is the bottom one on the body graph. And so do I. And so interestingly, to apply pressure to you timeline based is actually almost comfortable.
Oh my God, I was going to be like, don't tell me, because I work best to a timeline and pressure.
And so that's your defined root. Now, if someone didn't have a defined root, they would be like if you were like, okay, so this is what I've got on in the next 4 days, and I've got this call and I'm going to start, people would be like, absolutely not. No, I would need 6 weeks. And you're like, no. And you'd be like, oh, if I did 6 weeks, I'd still only give myself 4 days at the end of it.
Yeah.
That's the defined root. So there's so many little elements of human design.
I have recently just surrendered to the fact I just actually put things like on a like I will not try to do a task I know that's coming 4 weeks away. I do it the week of, because it's my best work.
Defined root.
Get fucked.
No, so that is because there is that healthy ability to handle stress. Nice. But again, conditioning would tell you,
I shouldn't.
Get organized, be prepared, don't stress yourself out.
No, it works.
Don't leave it to the last minute.
Yeah, but I should. Guys, so what I wanted to say, the last question is, we've kind of just gone into it, but basically, like, for someone that is interested in, firstly, I just want to say, if you're interested in human design and you've loved this conversation, this is why I wanted to bring Kell on. I believe in you so much. I back you so much. I just love everything you've brought to my life. So it's like, get a reading from Kell by all means. I'll put all of the things in the show notes. But for someone that, is like, well, that's all great for Anna. Like, this was very profound for her. Like, what can be in it for them, essentially, by getting that human design reading, and where can that unlock things for them?
I would say it depends on if they're starting from absolute no knowledge. Like,
I feel like that would be majority.
Yeah, to have a reading around understanding your energy type, which your strategy, your authority, not self and signature themes, and profile lines.
Which is that 3-5.
Which is the 3-5.
Yeah.
That, I believe, can bring so much, like, just foundational knowledge. Like, if you tapped into everything about that, you would see a significant shift in your life. And then, I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, how much you love it and where do you want to go from it? But it always starts with, strategy, authority. And for me, the authority part, I just feel like that's game changing, because I'm a sacral. My husband and my eldest daughter are both emotional, and my youngest is splenic.
Yeah. Evie.
Evie's splenic. She's a splenic manifestor.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's important, right? Because I'm the only one in that house that's going to have the answer immediately. Evie might, because she might have picked up the little,
gut.
Yeah. But Squidgy and Macy need time to land in emotional. So even that, from a partnership point of view of making decisions, like, oh, let's go on a holiday. I'm like, okay, yep, great. Where are we going? And be like, oh, hang on. Let me look at the diary. Like,
yeah. Well, I think what I love about this as well, which just ties in, because you know how passionate I am, and it was like the greatest healing of my life, of the masculine and feminine.
Yes.
We put this pressure and demand, I believe, and I think not in a sense we should, but there is that attraction of polarity and duality in a masculine feminine role, that the masculine makes those decisions and can on the spot, and like he needs to lead, and he should. That's a sexy attribute of the masculine. But I think as well, I'm going to look up Ryan's authority.
Yeah,
we have to.
it'd be interesting.
I'll share it.
And I mean, like, we've touched on 3, and there's more, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, and so I think as a feminine as well, just to now lean into this, like this power dynamic of masculine and feminine energies, knowing Squidge, for example, I'll use his, is emotional.
Yes.
It's actually giving him, as the masculine, the space to lead, but he just needs more time.
That's exactly right.
Instead of being like, oh, for fuck's sake, which happens in households.
Which is where
like,
I think
you never make decisions.
Correct.
But it's like, well, actually, that's not his human design. And if you could come at that in a more graceful way, not you, I know you would.
No, yes.
But like if your masculine is, which is just an energy type, right? But if the masculine in the household is emotional, for example, like emotional authority, don't try to put things on him last minute.
Correct. Yeah. And that's the same with Macy. It's like, if I'm, giving her the heads up, so to speak, I've got to give her time, in that it's not like we're leaving.
Yeah.
Or, I see it in all those types of things, is they just need that time and space. Time and space is their friend.
I feel like Kell is just a business. I could have set it off. Like, you should offer family readings.
Well, it's interesting,
because like, you're gonna have to do packages.
Well, I'm actually doing that for a business right now, for their team. Oh, so I'm doing individual readings for the team, and then we're going to do a team come together and unpack each other's, and just look at the differences of how we can create more harmony as a working team. Oh, so that's definitely something that I'm going to explore more and more, and pull out different parts of the chart, and how can everyone work together.
I am definitely going to get, because we're expanding and hiring, and so I'm like, there will be, you ever work for me? We will have HD readings for all, because
it's just so valuable. It is, yeah. And then then there's environments, like how working space, like so much.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm off the mic. I want to know mine. I know you thrive in.
Mine's markets. Busy. Yeah. So being able to choose and have a multitude of different things. And I just, I work really well in airports where it's busy and people, and I don't need to be engaging.
Yeah. Kell's a sicko. See, this is where I know we would be different, because you'll go to the shops.
Yes.
Like the busy shop.
I'll just sit up at the patio at Pack Fair and just sit there with my earphones in. I'm just like.
Not me, sis. I couldn't, and that's where I know.
That's the difference, right?
Yeah, not where I'd go be productive. Okay, well, I will wrap it up. I think it's been just an hour or just over, but I thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm very, very grateful.
I feel like we could sit here for another 10 hours.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so many.
And I will get you back on, because I feel like we can absolutely go deeper and unpack, and we could even do each energy type and start to sort of really unpack that as you get more into this as well. Mm-hmm. I know everyone would love that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you have enjoyed this episode, of course, please share it. If you are on the YouTube, hopefully Zeus was not snoring too loud and all of the things. But thank you so much for listening. And until next time, stay wild, my loves. Stay wild. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, I hope you got something out of this conversation that you can use to challenge your own status quo. If you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you shared this episode on your socials to help get this podcast more out in the world. Don't forget as well to tag me personally at @thereal_Anna Rose so I can thank you personally. If you're also loving the conversations, leaving a review on iTunes by going to the podcast, scrolling down and clicking leave review will help even more amazing humans that need to find me and these conversations find me. As always, though, I am eternally grateful that you're tuning in. And until the next episode, know that I am always cheering on your sovereignty and success.